Wrestling Paradox Podcast. Welcome back. We got myself and Chris back into place. It's the place to be. Oh, you didn't know? We're talking about factions tonight, ladies and gentlemen. We are talking about factions. It is Saturday night. It's our topic night. We're taking a break from the Wednesday Night Wars, and every Saturday we're going to be doing a new topic. So we want you to drop us some of your favorite topics so we can talk about them here on the show. You can catch us at Wrestling Paradox Podcast on Facebook, I believe it is, on YouTube, and on Twitter, we are at Podcast Paradox. Make sure you give us a like, subscribe, follow to everything. Keep up with everything that you can about the Wednesday Night Wars because we'll be filling you in. All right, so like I said, tonight's factions, I'm jumping right out the gate. One of my favorites, the turn of the century. It fit in so well with the times and how things have gone since then. I feel like they really made an impact on the world, and that's RTC. Right to Censor was just so fun to watch, and they were so heelish, and they were amazing, and their characters stuck with the world. Look at us. Look how PC we've become.
Wow. You came out firing. You came out firing. You know what? This might be the only show that Stevie Richards goes over.
Oh, he's so over. Oh my God, I love Stevie Richards.
Because I have him on maybe 2 or 3 of my factions.
Dude, man, his super kick was better than Shawn Michaels. I'll put it out there. I'll say it.
That's because he was 6'4". I'm gonna come hot right out of the gate. You ready for this?
I feel like you have to now. I
mean, it's not going to be RTC-esque, but once I name this faction and I tell you the people that were in it, it's gonna be like you're like, oh, okay. The Dungeon of Doom.
Oh my God, they were gonna take out Hogan.
Yeah, they were gonna kill him.
What is this place? I've never seen this before. There's no Hulkamaniacs in here.
You had Kevin Sullivan, the Giant, John Tenta as Shark, One Man Gang, the Zodiac, Conan, Kamala, Ming, the Barbarian, and the Yeti.
Dude, wasn't the Butcher or the Brodus the Beefcake? Wasn't he in there too?
He was the Zodiac.
Yeah. Oh man, God, that's.
I'm coming out firing.
That's firing right there, man. This guy coming out on all cylinders, all 4 of them.
Yeah.
Let's see. Where are we going next? All right. Let's go. One of the better factions that produced probably the biggest star in the world. I'm hitting you heavy with the Nation of Domination.
Wow.
Dude, great faction. Oh, man. They produced The Rock. They brought D'Lo Brown to another level. I love D'Lo Brown when he put on that vest, and, dude, he was out there. And, oh, it was awesome, man. He was cool to see. Farouk really took a lot of those guys under his wing, such as Mark Henry and D'Lo and The Rock, and he kind of brought him up into business. So Farouk's definitely had a hand in the business, and he's definitely had a hand in The Rock. So
don't forget Owen Hart was in that.
Owen Hart was in it. Yes.
Owen Hart
he was our token white guy.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I gotta agree with you on that. Like the Nation of Domination. They are not on my list, though.
No.
See,
a faction for me, man, a faction has to produce people. I feel like if a faction doesn't come together and produce somebody coming out, whether it's just one person, Evolution busted out 2 people between Batista and – I'm sorry, I'm jumping ahead there. But, a faction has to produce somebody. And if a faction doesn't produce someone, it's not fun because you want to see that guy rise above it and become bigger than the faction itself and then expand.
Right.
So that's what I look at when I look at factions. So for me, definitely The Rock surpassed anything anybody ever thought and became this multi-global war, like amazing. He's the biggest actor in the world right now. So that's where he started.
You know what's great about the Nation of Domination is you were to touch on your point about D'Lo Brown is it wasn't much of a character change from what he was doing in Smoky Mountain with New Jack.
Mm-hmm.
It was along the same lines. It was just more PC because New Jack was not PC.
Dude, the head wobble.
I'm gonna come at you with something that you've probably never heard of, but this is when I started watching this company. In 2002, ROH had a faction called the Embassy. It was Abyss, Alex Shelley, Jimmy Rave, Joey Ryan, Claudio Castagnoli, Rhino, and Tommaso Ciampa.
What?
Yep.
2002? So Tommaso
Mm-hmm.
had hair then as well. So
Mm-hmm. And still, no, Claudio did. Still, Cesaro had
yeah,
hair. It was
yeah.
before. It was before he tagged with Chris Hero to be the Kings of Wrestling.
Now in 2000, it's got to be the early 2000s when there's that famous video of Tommaso Ciampa in the ring as somebody's lawyer with the Undertaker, and he has hair, and that's got to be right around the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man, that's
Yeah, I
crazy.
think it was a great because I mean you're talking about producing. I
Yeah,
mean you look at Alex Shelley came out to be probably one of the top 10 to 20
dude,
tag teams in
Alex
Motor
Shelley's
City
amazing.
Guns.
Yeah.
Joey Ryan is over. I don't care if anyone says he's not a wrestler or he's comedic. He's over.
Oh, my dick.
Uh, Claudio Castagnoli as Cesaro. If he's used right, he's a great wrestler.
Does Cesaro end up like going to like our whatchamacallit? God, AEW?
Why would Cesaro go there?
I mean, I don't he's not being used at all on Raw or on wherever he's at. What show is he even on right now? Put him back in NXT. Why not have him go back down there? If you're not going to use him up on the main roster, put him back down there. Let him use his fucking ability.
Yeah, but I mean, let's not get off topic, sir. We're
I'm not getting off
factions.
topic. Look,
We're
I know we're
factions.
sticking to factions, but I'm talking about people who are coming out of factions and people who are rising above a faction. And what has Cesaro done at all?
The,
No,
yeah.
yeah, exactly. That's
I
another
mean,
podcast. That's another
exactly.
podcast. Another
Exactly.
podcast. All right. So you gave me the embassy.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I'm going to hit you back with the corporation. Hear that
Mm.
one. That's a fun one. You had Ken Shamrock, Pat Patterson, Gerald Briscoe, Vince McMahon, The Rock, Kane, and Shawn Michaels actually made his way into the corporation at one point. I believe that was to infiltrate the corporation, was it not?
Now, is that also the same corporation that had Stone Cold in it?
I don't ever like to recognize Stone Cold aligning with anybody. So I'm going to ignore that one, sir.
Hey, did you say Gerald Briscoe too?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just want to check. Oh wait, and also Mankind was in it too.
McMahon wasn't it? Yeah,
No,
Shane
Mankind.
Oh, Mankind.
Mm-hmm.
Well, wasn't he in the Union?
Well, remember he wasn't. Wasn't he in the corporation and Vince kicked him out, and then they gave him the hardcore belt to
Yeah.
moves him over.
Yeah. Here, sorry.
Because that's when he started wearing the shirt and the tie, and then they cut the sleeves off.
Mm-hmm. Became a little corporate for us.
Because yep. All right, so I'm going to come up with something that's going to surprise you, especially if you know me. This one's a little high on the list, and it's the Bullet Club.
Bullet Club, yes, they were right up here. I was getting ready to mention them here or not, but
they're number 8 on my list. I mean, you're talking about again. This whole show is going to be about producing. Tama Tonga, Bad Luck Fale, Gallows, Anderson, Kenny Omega, Bucks, Fergie, Styles, Cody Rhodes, Adam Cole, Hangman, Scroll, and that's not even listening to Japanese wrestlers.
Okay, but you're talking about all of them. Let's talk about original factions here. Who was in that original faction? Prince Devitt, AJ Styles, the Bucks.
AJ wasn't original. AJ wasn't original.
All right, not original. Sorry. Okay, but but he took over when there's still original members in there.
Yeah.
So
and if you want to look at original members, you got Cody Hall, Scott Hall's kid. You got Gallows, you got Anderson, you got Bad Luck Fale, Tama Tonga. Those are originals.
Yeah.
And they were the first of its kind in Japan to run a rough shot like that.
Yep. Yeah, the Bullet Club definitely changed the game. It really brought wrestling into this more pop scene. You know, with the whole, you know, they gave the bang and they gave the, you know, too sweet. It really brought that wrestling back. And, you know, when I walk around everywhere and I see Bullet Club shirts and I just randomly like hit the guys, I'm like,
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
we're both fucking losers, man. You
yeah.
know, so dude, I've seen you do it to people. I've done it to people. If I see you with a Bullet Club shirt, I'm gonna fucking too sweet you. I don't care where we are.
It's the unspoken language in
It
wrestling.
is. It
That's
is.
just it.
It's
And you
nice.
want to know what's great is, especially now, is if you see a Bullet Club shirt or you see a faction shirt and someone else wears it, it's an unspoken bond. It's like, I don't hate you. We watch the same thing.
If a fight broke out, I
Yeah.
got you, bro.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, all right. So moving on. So you hit me with Bullet Club. I'm coming back with, believe it. I really like this this faction. It was a lot of younger guys, a lot of second and third generation wrestlers. I think you know where I'm going.
Uh-huh.
Legacy.
Okay.
You know, Orton, Cody Rhodes, DiBiase, like all three of them, man. And then they brought who's kid? They brought Jimmy Snuka's kid, I think it was in, didn't they? Or somewhere towards the end, they brought somebody's kid in, and another one, and they were like, oh yeah, he was a Samoan. I forget whose kid it was. Oh my god. Anyway, so the original three though, with those three, you know, you had Orton, you know, when he was young and green, and he was with damn, why am I blanking?
Evolution.
When he was young green, he was with Evolution. He has back turned, or they turned their back on him, kind of made him become this new character. And then he had these two younger guys, but he always played it off like he was. It really elevated Cody to step up, and it really elevated DiBiase to step up. And we see where Cody went. And DiBiase, I guess he's still robbing, you know, charities. So it's a little tough, man.
I think you to go off of what you said is you see where Orton elevated to, and it helped Cody Rhodes. I mean, after Cody got out of Evolution, well, not he get out of, out of Legacy. He didn't really get out of Legacy, but he developed that character. I mean, he became dashing, you know, Cody Rhodes.
Yeah.
You know, and then when he broke his orbital bone and nose, he came out with the mask, and it was like a dark character, but he was still tagging, and it was cool.
Yeah.
You know,
he almost he evolved himself without changing. It was really interesting. So to see that,
and DiBiase just floundered.
Yeah, I think his dad's just like, I wish I had more fucking money. Buy it better, kid. Dude, sorry, man. Not a fan of the DiBiase family. All right,
so
where are you going now?
I'm going with, and I doubt they're going to be on your list, but the Fabulous Freebirds.
I had them, and I realized, look, I know what kind of fan of wrestling I am. I grew up in Raw Monday Night Wars was where I grew up at, and that was the mecca of every Monday night, and that's the night everybody waited for. And I tried to catch some Smoky Mountain. I tried to catch some Florida Championship here and there, and you know, I try to follow things of other wrestlers, but it's tough for me. So the Fabulous Freebirds, like I knew who they were. I knew it was the Fabulous Rougeaus and the Freebirds that got together, or what was it?
Yeah, it was they had a beef, and you know, the Fabulous Rougeaus and the Freebirds, and the Freebirds also had brawls with the Von Erichs, you know, in Texas. And I mean, back in the 70s and 80s, like they were the shit. Like when Kerry Von Erich and the Von Erichs came to the ring, it was like a mob scene, like all the women and everything like that. But then when P.S. Hayes came out with the Confederate flag, you know, and it just, they wanted to attack them, and that's what heel factions should be.
Yeah,
they were so heelish that they were over, and this was before the time, before anything like that. But also, the reason why I like the Freebirds is they developed the Freebird rule in tag team.
Anybody can defend the faction.
Exactly. And I think that's the coolest rule in tag team wrestling.
Yeah. New Day definitely take advantage of that. And you know, there's becoming a lot of more factions coming up in WWE. I'm noticing there's they're having more factions together, and you got the New Day, you got the Fallen Sons, you got there's a couple others that are coming together now. So
you got the Monday Night Messiah with Buddy Murphy,
AOP.
and
If
Seth
AOP can
Rollins.
stay healthy, oh my God, dude! I
Yeah.
know you're a fan of AOP. I'm a fan of AOP. They're just some two strong hitting dudes, and they move great together in the ring. They're big as shit, and they can do a lot. And it just sucks that they keep getting injured. Like, I want to see them expand. Real quick, I want to pick your brain about something. If you give me 2 minutes of your time, you mentioned Texas wrestling, and I mentioned Florida Championship, Mid-South. Do you think WWE hurt or possibly killed wrestling when it became global instead of letting little territories? Because Texas liked their kind of wrestling. Mid-South loved their wrestling. Florida loved their wrestling. And now you're forced to watch this wrestling. You don't have an option on what wrestling you can watch. I mean, you do with the internet. That's amazing times we have. But if you remember, territories were so successful.
Right.
So it's – I don't know.
Indie wrestling didn't exist basically back in the day.
Yeah, so that's why I feel like WWE really hurt the business when they decided to go global with that.
Well, here's my question. I'm going to answer your question with a question is, when Vince Jr. took over the company and he wanted to ransack all the wrestlers from all these, territories and everything like that, these promoters could have said no. Can you imagine if, Dusty and got together with the other promotions and formed their own promotion? So instead of Texas, Mid-South, NWA, their wrestlers deflecting to the WWF. Can you imagine if they all got together?
Yeah.
Like, can you imagine? You would have had the Freebirds, you would have had the Von Erichs, you would have had Ric Flair, you would have had the original Four Horsemen, Dusty Rhodes, all going against like the big names of WWF at the time, Hulk, Andre, Warrior, Savage. Like, wrestling at its time could have been different. You might not even heard of WCW.
Yeah. I liked WCW.
Not just to cut you off, but NWA and World Class Championship Wrestling at the time was putting on one of the best shows that you can ever have, because you had NWA.
That's what I was gonna say. I was getting to that. Like, I loved WCW shows at the very beginning.
Not WCW, WCCW, World Class Championship Wrestling. You had, in NWA, you had Magnum TA, and you had Gino Hernandez, you had Abdullah the Butcher. I mean, like, it, the original Starrcade, and everything like that. Like, can you imagine if the territories all got together and the original Starrcade could be like WrestleMania it is now? And some of the matches back then were just brutal. I mean, bloodbaths. And can you imagine if you had every week or every month matches like that going against the WWF with their cookie cutter, cupcake, eat your vitamins, say your prayers, drink your milk wrestling?
Yeah. No, that's definitely how Ric Flair became famous, with bleeding in matches. I mean, like you said, it was complete bloodbast back in the day. And him and Harley Race put on some of the greatest shows.
Him and Dusty.
Yeah.
Dusty, best storylines for 4 or 5 years straight.
The more I hate Cody, the more I'm like, God, I really didn't like that Dusty guy either. Like, why'd you give us this lame child? You should have stopped after Dustin.
Gosh.
Hard time, daddy. All right. So there we go. Next, I'm going to give you – all right, let's talk about them, the Four Horsemen.
Wow. I'm just going to say that is really high up on your list, sir.
Let's talk about them. Well, I'm just naming them off at this point, man. I know I'm naming my top three.
Now, which incarnation of the Four Horsemen are you talking about?
Ric Flair, Arn Anderson, Ole Anderson, and Tully.
Okay.
That's the four that my dad always told me were the original Horsemen.
Okay. Now, he also forgot that I agree to an extent with you about who you say the Four Horsemen is, but don't forget you had J.J. Dillon in there, and you had Barry Windham in there. To me, that is the best four horsemen. In fact, they're number one on my list.
Really?
Because the reason why is everyone did their part. Everyone was, you had Flair going after the gold. You had Barry Windham going after the U.S. title. And you had Tully and Arn going after the tag titles. They were never fighting over each other.
Really?
Yes. In fact, also is how Barry Windham was brought into the Four Horsemen. Him and Lex Luger were a tag team. Tully and Arn had a feud with Barry and Lex, and Barry turned his back on Lex.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
That's how he came into the Four Horsemen.
Do you remember the later years where Michael or Steve Mondo McMichael was like the Four Horsemen? Shut up, you stupid bear.
You want to know what though? You take him out. You take him out of the Four Horsemen. Then you have Ric Flair, Arn Anderson. You had Chris Benoit, and remember Brian Pillman was in there before he defected to WWF.
Yeah, sure. Was Dean Malenko ever a part of the Four Horsemen at any point?
No, Chris Benoit and Woman.
Yeah.
And Paul Roma. Paul Roma.
Mm-hmm. I don't know much about Paul Roma.
No one does.
All right, so I'm not in the minority here. All right, so let's see. Go ahead. What you got?
Probably one that you heard of, but have often forgotten. And this is because, this is my childhood, 80s and 90s wrestling. The Varsity Club.
The Varsity Club, yes. Rick Steiner, Scott Steiner, and who was the third?
No, there was more than that, sir.
No, who else was in it? I know the Steiner brothers were in it.
Kevin Sullivan, Rick Steiner, Scott Steiner. You had Mike Rotunda, Dr. Death Steve Williams, and Dan Spivey.
Wow.
And the reason why they called it the Varsity Club is they all came out in Letterman's jackets, but they were all graduated from major universities. Michigan, Syracuse, Oklahoma, Georgia.
Wow.
Now, you want to talk about elevating talent there? If Dan Spivey was healthier, he would have been over like Rover as Waylon Jennings in WWF.
You know who would have done good in that group? What was his name who came out? Chris Stanford or whatever his name was for a while. Came out in that Leatherman jacket.
Chris Masters.
No, not Chris Masters.
Oh, no. I know you're talking about Chris Nowinski.
Yes. Yeah. He just became a doctor recently too, but I remember he graduated from Stanford or Harvard or one of the two. He would have done Harvard. Yeah. He would have done good in that group. He definitely would have, because he was a pure mat wrestler. He just couldn't get over it with the crowd. He was dull as a butter knife, man. It was tough to watch him wrestle. The Varsity Club, I've definitely heard of them, and they put on some good match. And with the Steiners before Scott became, retarded. They were fun to watch. They were definitely fun to watch.
They were the only ones doing Frankensteiners off the top rope.
Dude.
And
I don't know. Did that head thing give Rick powers? Like, Jesus Christ.
He wanted to bring
some kind of realism. He's got baby ears under there.
He wanted to bring some kind of realism to pro wrestling. So he brought, the headgear.
I've seen Rick Steiner for the past 25 years on my television. I don't know what his ears look like.
It's kind of like mine. You never know what my ears look like.
You start growling on the floor, I'm calling the police. All right. Oh man, I'm gonna give you one, and this faction was supposed to surround one guy, but it ended up him helping push up these other two guys, and they came out in probably the coolest music I've ever heard in my life. And they came out from the middle of the ring.
I already know.
Middle of the ring in fire. And they were all dressed in white shirts. And they had the fangs. The Brood, baby. Yo, Edge, his whole career elevated. Let me tell you something. The Rated R superstar, before he was the Rated R, when he was Edge, when he didn't know who he was supposed to be as a character, he was supposed to come out this poet, dark poet, like, kind of thing.
You know me.
But man, Edge really just became like the coolest guy in the locker room. and him and Christian both, and Gangrel. I've met Gangrel living in South Florida. I've seen him numerous times around the city.
I've met him. Yep, I've met him a couple times.
David is definitely a cool guy, and he's definitely someone I'll sit there and talk to you about the Brood and everything. He loves talking about that stuff. So I'm not saying he's like in the worst for wear. No, he has a wrestling school down here. He's not just like, talk to me about my past.
No, wrestling asylum. Gangrel's wrestling asylum.
Gangrel's wrestling, fanging and banging. A little plug in for you there, David. I want my check.
Right. At least 15 cents.
No, man, the Brood was definitely one of the coolest things, and they joined. Oh man, they joined another faction, and I don't even have that faction on my list. I don't have that faction on my list.
Ministry of Darkness.
Oh man, that was fun times. But no, yeah, Edge and Christian really developed, and I think Gangrel was cool with that because Gangrel kind of took a back seat, and he knew when the time was up, when they were able to go on their own, and I think he handled that very well. And he still did his thing a little bit around the shows, but
if you remember, David, his career was already on its decline once he got to WWF. He had already been wrestling. I think it was like 10 to 15 years. So I think once they brought him in, they saw the shape that he was in, and then they had these two young kids go with him, and these two young kids like elevated him. That's when he was like, okay, I'm not going to be so hard on my body. I'm going to sit here and drink this blood and enjoy the times.
Yeah, he's going to play the antics to the crowd. He's going to do what he has to do to make himself over by, while also getting in the ring as less as possible.
Yeah.
Or as least as possible.
I mean, it elevated factions after that too, because if you remember, WCW tried to do like a reincarnation of it later in like 99, 2000 with the New Blood, and Vampiro and everything like that. Vampiro's faction, where he dumped blood on Sting in the middle of the ring, I overlooked them. I totally forgot about the Brood.
Man, that's why you marked out, huh?
That's why I marked out, man. Man, and it was so cool. Their entrance came from the fucking stage, like on fire.
Yeah.
It was just so dope. It was ahead of its time, man. Like, you don't understand how happy you made me. Like, totally forgot about them, man.
Are you finally proud of me? I'm recording this. I want to hear it. I want to hear it.
I'm like speechless because of it. Like, dude, I'm stoked right now.
That's awesome, man. I'm so glad I gave you that moment.
Stoked right now.
All right, let's move it, man. What you got? Where are you at next?
I can agree. My next 5, they're probably the same as yours, just in different order.
Okay.
DX.
Yes.
DX.
Again, I really didn't go in order until you told me I had to get my top 3. So I just listed a bunch of factions I really, really liked. And then I'm like, all right, so I'm just going to do those, and then I'll make my top 3.
The only reason why mine's in order is because when I typed it out, I hit enter, it just automatically populated the numbers. But D-Generation X, even before they added the Outlaws and added X-Pac and everything like that.
You're talking about the original Rick Rude.
Yes, Rude, China, Triple H, and HBK.
And Rick Rude got out of there just in time before it got really fucking weird, man. Like, yeah.
I mean, he's the only man to appear on both Monday night shows on the same night.
2 shows, yes, yes. One with a mustache and the other without. Yo,
but I can remember where I was living on Scott Street. Okay, HBK, given that we're just a bunch of degenerates promo in the locker room. Like, I can remember, like, everyone remembers when the tides turn in wrestling, and like when something like there's gonna be a come up, or there's a great match or something like that. And I remember HBK.
Yo. No. All right. Technical difficulties.
There we go.
There we go. There, I stepped on the cord. God Damn it.
Uh-huh.
All right. Yes,
But
DJ.
but I remember when HBK gave that promo, and that promo was legendary. I mean, like sitting in the locker room, I believe there was a bunch of chairs, and then you had the lockers in the back. You had Rick Rude, you had China on one side, Triple H right next to him, and he says, "Well, yeah, we are a bunch of degenerates, or you can just call us the Generation X." Like,
Yeah.
and everyone remembers when the tides turned in wrestling, and when there's a come up, and when there's a new faction, and it just hits hard, like. Bam, like that's it. Like that's my childhood right there. Like,
Yeah. Now
and
you said,
everyone
but,
remembers suck it.
dude, we all did that shit in high school.
Yeah.
Bro. It was either too sweet or you're giving people the suck it, man.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're giving the teacher the stone cold salute as they're walking out of the classroom.
Mm-hmm.
I went to a hood ass school, MacArthur. Yo, you told me that we may have the next 5 the same.
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna give you this one, and I hope you're ready for it, because if you're not, if you mark out, I will know what kind of fan you are. Shane Douglas.
They're on my honorable mentions.
Triple threat?
Yep.
Yes. The only reason I was not going to put Shane Douglas, Benoit, and Malenko in my the triple threat on my fucking top is because we met Shane Douglas at AEW Bash at the Beach, and that guy's a prick. And if Shane Douglas, if you're watching, I don't care. I don't like you. You suck. You work at Walmart, okay? I don't care what you have to say to me. Yeah, I wanted you to just say hello and say what's up to my ECW title, and that's it. You can kiss my ass, Shane Douglas. Sorry. I had to get off my chest. I have a show now, okay? People can hear me. I'm going to express how I feel.
See, I have a different incarnation of triple threat, though. I have Shane Douglas, Bam Bam Bigelow, Lance Storm, and Chris Candido. Like, that's because to me, the real triple threat is Douglas, Storm, and Candido. Again, like the Four Horsemen, they knew their roles. Douglas went after the heavyweight championship. Storm and Candido went after the tag titles.
Yeah. Yep.
We lose you again.
What? Did I step on the cord again? Son of a bitch.
What is going on here?
I have no idea, man. No idea.
Are you there?
I'm here, okay. Man. I've been here all night. I'm still going to be here. I'm going all night. It's Saturday night. All right. So
see, I popped off for that.
Yeah. There you go. Give me your next.
So I gave you DX before.
Yes, you did.
I'm gonna give you the Hart Foundation.
The Hart Foundation. I like the Hart Foundation. That gave us a lot of twists and turns. You had, I feel bad for Bulldog after the Hart Foundation because he was repackaged like 7 times, man, and he just couldn't catch a break. But, in the Hart Foundation, Bulldog was a monster. Jimmy Anvil Neidhart was a monster. Owen Hart was up and coming. He wasn't really up and coming. He was already there. It's just he was still Brett's younger brother. Mm-hmm. So he had to battle past that. But then you had them coming out of the Hart. And when they were battling and the Hart Foundation, had to get in between them, that was so fun to watch. But I'm stealing your throne. Right now. So go right ahead. Give me your Hart Foundation.
No, by all means. By all means. I actually like. I mean, you see, and you're forgetting. You see, everyone forgets this one person.
Brian Pillman.
Yep.
Brian Pillman was in the Hart Foundation.
Mm-hmm. And do you know the reason why he was in the Hart Foundation?
No, I don't.
Because he's really close personal friends with Owen Hart, or he was with Owen Hart, and they wanted him to come in because he wasn't from Canada. He was born in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
And that's where you get the whole Austin Pillman breaking and entering with a gun segment, because he was going after him when he was in the Hart Foundation.
Dude, I remember that segment so well. There are a few moments I remember wrestling, and that was one of them. And I remember looking at my dad when it's going on. I'm like, Dad, this is real? He's going to kill him. It was, and it pushed so many limits because the FCC even said, they were like, we didn't know there was going to be a gun in that segment.
Yeah.
Dude, that was crazy, man.
And not only that, but the people in the neighborhood were calling 911 because they saw like fighting in the front yard and breaking a glass into a window, and and they didn't know what was going on.
I think that's the greatest part. Is that's how WWE / WWF is succeeded. I mean, they convinced people of storylines.
Mm-hmm.
There were people in the arena the night Vince McMahon got blown up, the night before Chris Benoit went fucking wild on everybody, and McMahon blew up in the fucking limo, and there were people in the audience like calling 911 for this guy. It's like, dude, that's like they get people in their emotions. So seeing that gun and the fight with Brian Pillman and all that, it got me in an emotion, and I fell in love with it right after that. I think that was the exact moment I was like, I love fucking wrestling. This is awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No, that was definitely good times. So my next one is about 4 guys who were involved in mid-card status and just felt like they couldn't go any further in the company they were in. So they showed up one night. Oh, man. No, again, this goddamn cat keeps stepping on the wire. Shit. Now we got Chris frozen. High five, Chris. Man,
I can hear you. There we go.
There you go. So hold on. Why are you telling me hold on?
No, hold on. Are you talking about the Radicals?
God. If you don't let me build up to my statements, we're going to have a problem here. Because let me tell you something, man. God damn it. The Radicals, if you put your fucking thumb down. The Radicals, man, they really – do I have to include Perry Saturn in this group?
Yeah, even though he's looking that way when he's looking straight.
You sure?
Mm-hmm.
Dude, this guy, man.
He wrestled a mop. He wrestled a mop.
Out of all of them, I think he's doing the worst. 2 of them are dead, and I think he's still doing worse than the 2 that already died. I mean, this guy is on fucking TV begging for fucking money for his crack. Sorry, man. I tell it how it is. But no, the 4 guys, they came over, man, and they really made an impact on Monday Night War. And they were still in a no compete clause, but they were able to show up, but they weren't allowed to wrestle. Mm-hmm. So finally the night came out where they were finally allowed to wrestle because they sat in the crowd, I think, for a couple weeks before when they came out.
Yeah, the first row.
Yeah, so it was when they finally jumped over the guardrails and attacked, I forget who the fuck they attacked. But they jumped over the guardrails.
The New Age Outlaws.
It was the Outlaws, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Because it was New Age Outlaws, and I think it was the Outlaws and X-Pac versus Mankind, and I can't remember the other 2 guys.
This is why I keep you on the show, man.
But yeah, I can remember what they were wearing too. Like that's the sick thing.
I remember Eddie Guerrero with the black pants and like the sombrero shirt and shit. Yeah.
Perry Saturn was wearing kind of like this black leather hat that would only fit on the top of his head, and he had a silk like shirt. Mm-hmm. It was like a silk satin black or silver shirt.
It was black. I remember it was black. Yeah.
Yep. I mean, that's a great faction. I mean, But here's the thing. If they would have stayed with WCW, Benoit just became a champion. The Titanic was sinking already. Could they have done more with WCW? I mean, you take away the singles roles for Benoit and Guerrero. Malenko floundered. Saturn floundered. He wrestled a fucking mop.
Didn't they put Malenko in like some type of like weird storyline with Lita? I think it was.
Yeah, he was like a ladies' man, like a gigolo.
Yeah, it was weird.
So it's almost like it's like in the NBA when you do like a big name trade and you throw like the 3 scrubs in just to fill like cap space. I think the WWE just wanted Benoit and Guerrero.
Yeah, and they were like, bring over your 2 fucking friends. Malenko's a badass though, man. Nice man.
Mm-hmm. Man of 1,000 holds.
Dude, Chris Jericho's 1,001. Okay, so it really doesn't matter about his sorry ass.
Armbar.
Oh man, I wanted the inner circle on this fucking list just because of Jericho. Okay.
All right. So next up is I guarantee you this one's in your top 3. I know it is because it's in my top 3. The Dangerous Alliance.
I'll spoil it. They're my number one faction. I
It's
loved them.
you
I
can't
loved them.
compete. You can't compete
No,
with that. Like,
dude, the
you
guys
know,
that were in that faction, man. You had Steve Austin, led by Paul Heyman, led by I'm sorry, you had Rick Rude. You had who else was in it?
Larry Sabisco, Arn
Larry
Anderson,
Zbyszko was in it.
Bobby
Yes,
Eaton.
dude, the Dangerous Alliance was amazing. Yes, Medusa.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
And it
so
wasn't Paul Heyman, by the way. It was Paul E. Dangerously.
dangerously.
Mm-hmm.
Hence the Dangerous Alliance.
With the cell phone, the brick cell phone that was like this big.
Man, we mentioned Farouk and now we've mentioned Arn Anderson twice. Who had the better slam?
Oh, Arn Anderson by far.
Yeah.
The reason why, I can tell you the reason why I love Arn Anderson's Spinebuster is because he scooped and turned with to where Farouk just caught you and just like threw you down.
Farouk's looked like a fucking car accident, man.
Yeah, but you want to know what though? It just Arn Anderson's look. It's kind of like Bobby Roode's, and C.W. Anderson from ECW. It's more theatrical and it's more like it looks soft and then bam, pivot and they're down.
Yeah, there was a lot of thunder behind that. A lot of thunder behind that. Yeah, no, you mentioned Bobby Roode, man. Bobby Roode was amazing. And speaking of Bobby Roode, you had, what was their name? Shit. It was right on the tip of my tongue. Ric Flair, AJ Styles, Magnus, James Storm, Bobby Roode. Oh, what was her name in TNA? Come on, give it to me.
No, you can take it.
Give it to me. What was her name? I forgot. Shit. You know who I'm talking about, right?
Yes, it was Doug Williams. Nigel McGuinness was in it.
Shit.
It wasn't the Legacy. It
No.
was
Jay
it
Lethal
Evolution?
came out and made fun of him. No.
What?
No. Oh, my God. All right, carry on. I'm going to find this name. Carry on.
It
Give me your
wasn't Main
next.
Event Mafia.
No. Give me
Yeah,
your
wait.
two.
No, it wasn't Main Event Mafia. Fortune.
Fortune.
Come
It
on.
was Fortune, wasn't it?
Come on. Yeah, because they did the
They were
Four
good.
Horsemen.
Yeah.
They did the Four Horsemen.
You compare yourselves to the Four Horsemen?
Exactly.
Jay Lethal coming out.
And he
Looks
was
like the
throwing his
Horseman came out.
shoes.
Greatest promo in history. Greatest promo. Those two going at it. Ric Flair and Jay Lethal. They played off each other so well. And Rick's eyes just popping out of his head. Man,
Well,
was fun to watch.
what's great is a side note off of that is on that promo. That was Jay Lethal's first time ever talking to Ric Flair that day.
Really?
Yes, and the reason why it all came about is he would do impressions of Macho Man with the Black Machismo, Ric Flair, and everything like that, and that's when they brought Ric Flair in, do Fortune, and everything like that, and it was Simon Diamond that came up with the idea to have him go out there and just go up to Ric Flair and ask him actually, it was Vince Russo that wrote this. It was like, hey, you're going to work with Rick. Go up to Rick and see what he wants to do. And Rick was like, oh, I'll see you out there, kid. So Jay Lethal, I actually watched the interview he did with Kevin Steen on High Spots just the other day. And he was panicking. And Simon Diamond sat him at Gorilla and said, you do this every night. Just go out there and just be yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why Ric Flair had that befuddled look on his face. Like, what's this kid doing? And that's when Rick went back at him and he said it just escalated off of that. And he actually said Lethal actually said he bruised a rib doing an elbow drop on the stage on his jacket.
Really?
Yes.
Dude. Is Jay Lethal he's one of my favorites right now, man.
Yeah.
He really is. I'm so upset we didn't get him in WWE, all because of the whole fucking Paige thing. Wasn't it Paige or AJ Lee?
AJ Lee, yeah.
Yeah.
I can remember him starting out in TNA getting squashed by Samoa Joe every TV taping. And then he just got a win and he just took off. And then he goes to ROH and he's the flagship.
Yeah.
Yep. So number 2. on mine. We already know what my number one is. It's the Four Horsemen, the original, the NWO. Now, hold on. Not the everybody and their grandmother, Van Hammer, Scott Norton. No,
Oh, I
I'm
know what you're
talking.
saying. I understand.
Yeah,
Go ahead. Go
yeah.
ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Talking about the Hogan, the Nash, the Hall, and the Giant. And well, actually, no. Throw in Bischoff in there too. Those five changed the landscape of wrestling. You want to know why? And I'm gonna tell you this right now. If they didn't add so many people to the NWO and just kept it at a 5-person minimum, kind of like Undisputed Era now, where there's 4 to 5, it wouldn't have been watered down. When the NWO first originated, they started demolishing WWE because everyone wanted to see what the NWO would do. Hogan was the leader of the gang. And in real times, if you're a gang and you're the leader of a gang, you're not getting touched until the time's right, until someone infiltrates your gang. I think that changed the landscape of wrestling. But I think they tried to water it down when you put Masahiro Chono in it. Like I said, Scott Norton, Horace Hogan, Conan as K-Dog, I think Lex Luger, Billy Kidman, it's not a big fan of when it gets like that,
No, I personally think the NWO is responsible solely for destroying this business. I was a fan of NWO. Of course, I was a fan of NWO. Everybody was. But now that I'm older and I look back at it, they weren't good for the business. It wasn't a good thing to happen because it was nice seeing Hogan and Hall and Nash and the whole thing with Macho Man at Bash at the Beach, I think it was, and it was so cool to see, obviously, and I still remember that even though I was very young at the time. I remember it. I think I was like 9 or 10, and as time went on, I noticed I'm like, because we've both went back and watched WCW from the bottom to the top, and we catch every episode that we can. You watch it so much into like 98, 99, and it was just like so many people have joined an NWO. That first 4 months was good for the NWO. After that, man, it kind of just went to shit. Obviously I like the original NWO, but I'm not a fan of the NWO at all.
I mean, when they brought Virgil in, that's when it kind of started going downhill.
You mean WWE superstar Virgil? I've seen him.
He's getting
nobody at his desk.
He's getting that Olive Garden money. Like,
oh my god, dude, this fucking guy. That banner's famous.
But you want to know what though? The original NWO, that Bash at the Beach, when they said that this is the new world order, it's set up for one of the best storylines in professional wrestling history.
It wasn't the New World Order. It was a New World Organization.
Oh, yeah. That's what he said.
It was.
But it's set up for the best storyline in professional wrestling history, I think. Okay. Sting turns his back on the fans after he was like the household name. He gives a promo with his back to the hard camera and then goes away and doesn't have any physical contact with anybody for almost a year. Like, to me, that's a storyline. Like, you can write a book that way or a movie or something like that. And the Crow Sting was dark, coming from the rafters. It was around the same time as, Owen Hart, it's like, do I really want, but man, like that one time that he came down and, they thought it was fake Sting and he takes the mask off and it was Sting, with the face paint underneath.
Yeah.
Dude, it's just like.
He played the mind games very well.
Dude,
man.
It's awesome.
They had some good writers back then. They definitely had some good writers. So I'm going to do exactly what AEW did to us, okay? AEW, following a Cody match, gives us this horrible match of Chris Statlander and Penelope Ford, right? We reviewed it last week. So I'm going to follow your NWO up with the amazing, the only, the oddities.
Wow.
Oh. Golga with the Cartman shirt.
Yes. Oh my God.
I've been wanting to say their name all night, and I was waiting till we got to the end of all this and just see who's really stuck with us. The fucking oddities, bro.
Do you know who that is? Do you know who Golga is?
That was oh shit, he was oh God. Wasn't he the dude that fell through the wall? No, who was that?
Hold on.
Golga was shit.
I thought it was
Earthquake or something.
John Tenta. I thought it was John Tenta, and that was Earthquake. Yeah. Hold on, let me make sure, because I thought it was him. But yeah, keep going. No, keep going.
Yeah, no, the oddities, man. They had some huge storylines. They were involved in a lot. You know, Kurgan. What was his name? The Jekyll.
Yeah, that was Cyrus the Virus.
The Jackal. Yeah, Cyrus the Virus. The Jackal.
Don Callis.
Dude, if you remember, Shaggy 2 Dope was in it.
Mm-hmm.
Violent J was in it. We had ICP, baby.
And John Tenta was Golga. They put a mask on. The reason why they put a mask on him is because, he turned his back on Hogan, and they didn't want to think that Earthquake was coming back, so they wanted to give him a new gimmick. And it's kind of like Barry Darso when he goes from Demolition to Repo Man.
Yeah.
And
do you know who else was in that faction that we didn't mention?
Luna Vachon.
Yes, and one more. There's one more. Give it to me.
Was Sable in it?
I believe Sable did have a part in it, yes. However, there was one more. He's someone you're going to be like, oh, shit. 3,
no, I don't know.
2. George, the animal, Steel was in the oddities.
That's right.
Yes. Right. It's very, very interesting person to be in that faction. But yes, I remember the oddities holding it down from 8:30 to 8:45 every Monday night. I tell people all the time, and I'm a huge fan of mid-card. If you look at my titles, I don't have a world heavyweight title up there for a reason. I'm not a fan of that. I'm a fan of mid-card because mid-card holds down the show from 8:30 to 9:30. You have your opening segment, then you got to have something hold down the middle of that show.
Mm-hmm.
That's like when Cody's called a mid-carder, he takes offense to it. Dude, for what, bro? You're the part of the show that keeps people interested. Right. You're what carries people to the end of the show and to the final match. Be proud of that. Not everybody's Barry Bonds. Right. Not everybody can crack a home run. Sometimes those doubles and those singles matter. You got to load up the bases, and you got to let Stone Cold and The Rock take it home. So
that's why I like Kip Sabian and Sammy Guevara.
Yo, Sammy Guevara is an amazing wrestler, and like the Inner Circle again, man. Yeah, I like them. I'm gonna put them on my list. Fuck, they're on the list. Dude, you made the list, Jericho. Do you have a surprise? Do you have a surprise for me? Like, there's one in the back of your head where, like, you know what, didn't make the list, but I got it.
Huh?
No.
I've got a couple that you didn't mention, and I'm surprised, especially this one. It's on my honorable mention. There's a couple on my honorable mentions. I'm surprised you didn't say Nexus.
Nexus had a great debut. What happened to Wade Barrett after? What happened to Heath Slater after? What happened to Ryback after? Or Skip? Whatever. What was their fucking name?
Skip Sheffield.
Skip Sheffield, the baseball player, the rejected baseball player. I did like Nexus, but the whole beating up John Cena thing, that was just felt so PG. If it took place back in a different era, it would look better. But I don't know. I wasn't a fan of Nexus.
Right.
I'm I'm really not. Because
What
I feel
about
like Wade Barrett got screwed, man.
yeah?
I'm such a huge fan. I was such a huge fan of Wade Barrett, and I thought Bad News Barrett was so over. And Bad News Barrett is everything that Baron Corbin aspires to be.
I think it's the same character.
It is, but Baron Corbin doesn't deliver it as well.
I think you don't want to know what it is. You're gonna laugh when I tell you this. I think it was the accent. Yep,
the
the accent. I think it's the accent.
accent does it.
Yeah, 100%.
No, I was reading an article earlier. There was supposed to be a surprise Nexus return at WrestleMania.
That's the reason why I just said it. That's the reason why I said it.
Did not get it because of COVID. And let me tell you how hard I would have popped if it would have been after a Daniel Bryan match. It would have had to have been. Because then you got to come down and you got to give Daniel Bryan the thing. You know, that would have been so cool to like have Nexus come through the crowd, hop the guardrails, kind of give you that old feeling again. And then give Daniel Bryan the armband, and then someone else comes out and they beat him down. It would have been so cool to see. But we didn't get that because of COVID. So thanks again.
Now, here's the thing. If they did do that, is it the original members minus Ryback? I mean, do you get Michael Tarver? Do you get Husky Harris? How do you get Husky Harris out of that?
Maybe they could send the pig. Huskus. I mean, I don't know. I think you would have got Wade Barrett. You would have got Heath Slater. You would have had Justin.
Nope, you can't get him.
Why not Justin Gabriel? Where's he at?
He's in ROH.
Is he?
Mm-hmm.
I think they would have paid ROH some money that night.
He's either in ROH or Impact.
Yeah, WWE could have wrote him $100 check and been like, "Hey, I'm borrowing this guy for a night." Both companies need that money.
You have Darren Young.
Do you think? Hold on. Do you think ROH or Impact would have stopped that? One of their wrestlers going on WrestleMania, and then people 100%. Go, "Oh, where's he at now?"
Oh, 100%.
How? People going, "Where's he at now?" Oh, he's in Impact. Oh man, I'm gonna go watch Impact now because he's there. You don't think they would have stopped that shit?
100%, they would have stopped it. Yeah, 100%. 100%.
We
saw it. We saw it with when a couple years ago in Orlando when you had the Hardy Boys against the Bucks in a ladder match. That's the reason why WWE never went back and said, "Oh, this is their second ladder match of the weekend." They never once said it. You know.
Yeah.
You're not gonna promote on.
But WWE does that. WWE never. Whatever. WWE is the best for that. Whatever happens outside of our company never happened.
Right.
That's how WWE is.
Right.
Dude, I remember that match, the Hardy Boys versus the Bucks. The Hardy Boys controlled the whole match.
Mm-hmm.
Controlled the whole match, and then the Bucks won it at the end. But that was the Hardy Boys. They were calling that whole spot, man. That was a great night.
That was probably the 3 best matches that I've ever seen live, back to back. Well, 4, because you had Will Ospreay. That was the first time that we saw Will Ospreay live.
Yep.
You had, if you remember, you had Jay Lethal versus Cody in a Texas bull rope match.
Yes.
And then you had before the second to last match, you had Dalton Castle versus Christopher Daniels for the ROH title.
And all those fucking pelicans coming out with Dalton Castle.
Peacocks.
Oh, peacock.
Peacock, cock. You peacock, cock. And then the main event was Bucks and Hardy Boys.
Yep.
Also, I have some other honorable mentions that I don't know if you remember. You're a big mid-card guy. You're a big mid-card fan. You had some guys that were losing on the mid-card. And they had nowhere to go. So they came together.
Are you talking about Are you talking about Chris Benoit and his friends again?
The Job Squad.
The Job Squad. Oh man. Yes, Al Snow.
Flash Funk, Too Cold Scorpio. You had Hardcore Holly. You had Crash Holly. Like, come on, man.
Dude. The whole Holly family, Bob Holly, Crash Holly, Molly Holly, are they a faction? Is that considered a faction?
Yeah. They were not supposed to go over
at
all. They were supposed to be a comic gimmick, and like it just skyrocketed. Kind of like a couple of years ago with the Social Outcast. They were not supposed to go over. and they fucking went over. And WWE's like put a scabosh on that. Like, nope, ain't happening.
Who to you is the master of going over when not supposed to? Because I know who's in my mind, and he's in NWA right now. So who to you is that? Who do you think I'm talking about?
Going over when he's not supposed to?
Going over with the whole crowd when he wasn't supposed to, and now he stars on NWA Power. Come on.
Hold on. It's got to be Scott Steiner.
No.
It's either Scott Steiner, because the big names is Nick Aldis, Scott Steiner, James Storm.
You're missing another name there, pal.
I've only watched a couple episodes of Power.
Damian Sandow. Sandow went over so hard with the crowd, and he was never supposed to be that guy. I don't know. I'm still sticking to my guns. Sandow went rogue at Money in the Bank, and he was not supposed to win that title or win that Money in the Bank. I think that was supposed to be Cody's moment. I think he went rogue. What's he going to do? What are you going to do? Stop me? I just won it on national television in front of millions of people. What are you going to take from me? I'm telling you. Because how quick did he lose it to John Cena? He lost the fucking money and he lost the contract. He was forced to cash in on Cena. Right. I don't think he was supposed to win that match. I really don't. I think that was supposed to be Cody's moment. And he took it. I don't know. I'm a conspiracy theorist. I still think Vince McMahon owns AEW. Double the money, baby. Just racking it in.
But
I'm telling you, man. Show's gonna get weird. The more episodes come, the more seasons. This show is gonna get weird, people. If you stuck this far,
That's it. That's all. That's the list for me.
So my top 3, in no order, I am going. The Four Horsemen.
Mm-hmm.
Legacy. Just because of what Legacy produced and who they produced and how Ric Flair was done. And you saw the interviews of Ric Flair and Triple H like, man, I got to do something with Rick. He's not the same person now. And, him getting back out there saved Ric Flair's career. He went back on the road again. And you had these two diamonds that needed to be molded with Batista and with Orton.
No, you're thinking of Evolution.
Or wait, Legacy. What did I say? Legacy? Evolution. Yeah. Evolution. Yeah. I'm so sorry.
No,
shit. Evolution. The way you had to mold these two guys, and they became two probably of the biggest stars in the company in history of wrestling. I mean, there was the threats of Orton leaving and going to AEW. You remember that?
Yeah.
He took the picture outside of something. Where did he take the picture? It was
I think it was the CNN Center, wasn't it?
No, he took a picture and it was on there was a door there. And he said something about Too Sweet or something like that, but I remember that, and then he signed like a 6-year contract the next day with WWE. But I mean, these two guys they can easily be considered the faces of wrestling in the early 2000s and late 2000s. Orton is up there with Cena. I think he's Orton's a third. How many times champion? 12. He's up there.
Yeah,
he's up there, dude.
It's up there. It's over 10. Yeah,
it's over 10. I think he's 11 or 12-time champion. Mm-hmm. And honestly, before he retires, I could definitely see him winning another championship with WWE, a major title. He really molded into this character. So we have Evolution, we have Four Horsemen, and my third and final is the Dangerous Alliance. They didn't last long. They tried to reband in ECW, and if they could have stuck together, they would have been amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And Rick Rude, I think, really played a part in Austin becoming who Austin had became. And Rick Rude doesn't get a lot of credit for that. Austin said before he was a man's man, and Austin was very intimidated by Rick back when he was in that, and he was the young kid. Austin was the kid in that group. He was the one who was supposed to outshine everybody, and he did. Became the biggest box office attraction.
Well, he was greener than horse shit in that faction too.
Oh yeah, you surround him with winners, and they surrounded him with winners.
Mm-hmm.
Arn Anderson, Medusa, Bobby Eaton, Paulie Dangerously. Like, Paulie Dangerously is probably the greatest manager of all time.
And this was after he was the Hollywood Blondes with Brian Pillman, wasn't he? So, and that's the reason why he became a part of the Dangerous Alliance, is because he turned his back on Brian Pillman. But I mean, like you said, siding with Rick Rude, Zbyszko, Arn Anderson, Bobby Eaton, it's a formula
Zbyszko,
for.
let me tell you, man, was Zbyszko. I have one memory in my mind of Zbyszko, and that's fighting Scott Hall every Monday night. And that's really all I remember is Zbyszko, man. I don't remember him much in the ring. I know him more as an announcer. And, that's just – I don't know. I love Larry Zbyszko as the announcer. I don't know a lot. Like I said, don't know a lot of about him in the ring. It was the era I grew up in. It was the wrestling I watched. So, I see Zbyszko certain times watching, like, old school wrestling. But I don't know. I never really had that connection to him. But to see him and Austin and all them getting together it was good. It was definitely worked out well. I wish they could have stayed together longer. We could have seen more TV of that. So, what about you? Your top three?
The original four Horsemen, Dangerous Alliance, and I'm going to go with.
If you say the NWO, I'm throwing all my shit.
No, it's not. I'm gonna have to go with. I mean, I'm gonna go have to with a spoiler. I mean, everyone's gonna think I'm gonna go Bullet Club. I'm gonna have to go the Embassy.
Embassy, really?
I loved it in 2002. Like, it was so cool. Like, if you can get your hands on like old 2002 ROH and just watch the formulation of it, it is crazy. Like, first off, early ROH is like hands down one of the best. Like, I can remember it was Negro the Butcher, Jimmy Jacobs, and Seth Rollins hung one of the Briscoes from the rafters, like lynched his feet and hung him from the rafters as he was bleeding. And Jimmy Jacobs was wearing an all-white suit, and he stood underneath the Briscoe, and the Briscoes just bled on him, and his blood was all over him, and he was cutting a promo. Like, it is like legit. Like,
Jesus, send me that link.
It is the craziest promo I think I've ever seen.
Send me that fucking link, man. I swear to God, I want to watch that tonight. Yeah, no, man. There's always been factions have always made wrestling better. The element of three or more men coming out is always fun to watch. And there's a group that we did not mention tonight, and it really set the standard in 2000 and I think 12, 13 when they finally came around. The Shield, dude, they were all over. All three of them. Roman Reigns was hot until they made him a babyface. He was hot in the ring, bro. He showed up. Everybody loved Reigns. I said it from the beginning. I was hoping Seth would be the breakout. I really liked him. Dean was that lunatic fringe, and he was fun to watch. But one of my favorite moments ever in wrestling is seeing all three of the members of the Shield hold the title in one night, and Dean walked out with it. That was so fun to watch. And I might be in the minority. I know I'm a little older guy, and I should be like, Roman sucks and the Shield sucks. No, dude, when the Shield got back together, I don't care what you were a fan of, you popped when the Shield got back together. And I think it was Royal Rumble. They all put their fucking hands out, and they did it over, I think, Triple H. That was fun to see, so.
Yeah. I mean, I've got one that we didn't talk about either. And mid-cards. And you had Raven's Flock and Raven's Nest. Raven's Nest is in ECW with the Pitbulls, Stevie Richard, and Cactus Jack. And then in the Flock, you had Raven was just such a cool character. Like, it was just you didn't know what to do with them. And I think that's the problem with WCW is they didn't know what to do with them. You had Raven, you had Stevie, you had Kidman, you had Lodi, you had Van Hammer.
Sign Boy.
Yeah, well, that was Lodi.
Yeah.
Then, if you remember, you had Scotty Reeves. That
where he messed up his eye, right?
Yes, it was Buff Bagwell's partner, and he went dark. And he just because every time they took in and Saturn too, every time they took on a new character or a new member, they just walked out, no entrance ring, in the middle of a match, and just hopped the guardrail and sat with them. Yeah, like it just left you like, what the fuck's going on here? Like.
Yeah.
Like you said, factions will never die. It'll just make it better and just get stronger.
No, factions always. And I'm seeing more factions now. I'm seeing factions now more than ever. And I feel like that's a lost thing. When the Wyatt family debuted on Kane, on a Monday Night Raw, I think it was in Seattle, Washington. They debuted. That was awesome. You know, I was a huge fan of the Wyatt family when they came along. So I remember the vignettes. It was like it felt like 10 weeks of vignettes, and then they finally showed up, and everybody kept saying, "When are they gonna show? When are they gonna show?" It was anticipated. It was highly anticipated. So that was fun. But yeah, no, I think there's a lot of people say the new school sucks. So my dad's a fan of the golden era, and then I was a fan of the attitude era. And my dad said he hated the attitude era. And then I'm a fan of the attitude era, and I see the new age era, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's a whack. Y'all don't know how good we had it, you know? So it's just, there's spectrums of wrestling, and, you know, some people like this spectrum, some people like this spectrum. So it all goes back to that. But I feel like the Shield and the Wyatts, they had great battles in the ring, and they were fun to watch, especially when they came to a head at there was a pay-per-view. They finally fought each other at their Elimination Chamber. Or something like that, yeah, because the Wyatts costed the Shield from getting in the chamber, and then that's where they started planting seeds on the Shield splitting, and then you had the Shield and the Wyatt family going at it. So and they built it up too, because they said, oh, this family and the Shield, and they built that up to that match. That was a great build-up for that. It was a great storyline that they played off of with those three. So,
and the best thing about the Wyatt family, it's still a faction that has not died, because they played the story is. They talked about a character that's not even real yet, Sister Abigail.
Yeah,
like it can still come about with a totally different, set of a roster. Like you can have anybody. It can keep going as long as Bray stays with the company.
Yeah, and I don't see Bray going anywhere for a long time. That is one person WWE is not going to let walk at all.
No, he's so multi-talented in his wrestling ability, in his promos, just the way he holds himself. It's very, very well done. I'm a big fan of the Wyatt family, and also, like I said earlier, with Dan Spivey from the Varsity Club, when he went over to WWF as Waylon Mercy, that was the original Bray Wyatt.
Yeah,
that was the original Bray Wyatt, and it's just Bray just took it and just elevated it. And it was just, who would have thought that's Mike Rotunda's kid?
IRS, baby. Yo, how did IRS get fired from the WWE on tax day? Do you think that was like a gimmick? Hey, man, so we're going to let you go. What days do you want your last day to be?
Right. Stick with my gimmick. Stick with my
gimmick. give me a good way out,
Right.
But no, it's there's like factions are a big part of wrestling, and they definitely keep me intrigued. So that's that. I think we covered it, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, so we'll be back Thursday with a review of the Wednesday Night Wars, and we'll see what happens on Wednesday. I'm not sure. I haven't really seen any matches coming up. I think MJF's in action this week. We have.
I think you got a tag team match. You got isn't it Havoc
Hangman and Page?
Yeah, Hangman and Omega versus Havoc and Sabian, isn't it?
Yep, and we got Le Champion back in action. I'm sure you're going to see a nice little squash match from Brian Cage again. They're going to build him up as big as they can.
It's going to be the Hogan build. The Hogan build. That's what I call it.
Yep. So hopefully we'll see some fun times this week, and we'll see what NXT has to offer a week away from In Your House.
I mean, is it going to be a dumpster fire? Or?
With the match between Cross and Ciampa, that's really holding me in.
Yeah.
That's really holding me in there, and I'm really excited to see that match. I'm excited to see what they do with Velveteen Dream and Adam Cole in this gimmick match. I'm sure they're going to have. It's going to be shot like a movie, so we'll see what happens there. But and then we have Finn.
And we might do a watch along with that, or we
might. I might be interested in that.
We might watch it together and
I'm down.
Record us watching it.
I'm down. And then we have Killer Martinez versus Prince Devitt.
Damian Priest, by the way.
Or it's Killer Martinez.
Okay.
I give him his. Hey, man, don't you question me, son. It's all about Ring of Honor over here, okay? It's all. You didn't think I was going to bust this baby out?
And first off, in ROH, his name was Punishment Martinez.
Or Punishment Martinez. I thought it was Killer. I'm stone to the bone, baby. Oh, well. Look, man. All right. It's all that matters right here. And I'm only pulling this out because I know it irks you. And I'm sure Aaron would get a kick out of it.
But like I've told you, that is one of my favorite belts because it's so clean. It's to the point. It's simple.
It is everything the TNT belt wanted to be. And it could not replicate it. Often replicated, never imitated.
It's often replicated or duplicated.
I'm going in a bowl. All right, guys. That is it. We are out of time. We will see you Wednesday. Actually, we will see you Thursday. We are going to review the Wednesday Night Wars, and we'll get back to you Thursday. All right, everybody. Stay safe. And don't forget, give us a like and follow and a subscribe here. Wrestling Paradox Podcast on Twitter at Podcast Paradox. We are on Facebook and soon to come live from Instagram. So everybody stay safe. Make sure you give us a like, a share, and a follow. We appreciate everything. All right. Peace.